Today, Tuesday? Wednesday. Just kidding. Yesterday was Tuesday. Today is May 15th, 2024, and I call this budget and finance hearing to order. Thank you all for being here today. We do have a quorum, so thank you for your patience. We did want to ensure that we had a quorum today. I did want to remind everyone as we started yesterday with these reminders. I know we have some fresh faces today, so I want to make sure that everyone gets the same information. We do have budget hearings. We had one yesterday, which you can watch those hearings on YouTube if you were not here. We do have departmental hearings, obviously, today, and then we will have some again tomorrow. We also have some next week. Your wish list will be due on May the 23rd. And you can also turn in your amended wish list by June the 6th. We do have budget work sessions that will be starting on May the 28th. And we have community listening sessions. So thank you for those of you who joined the Bellevue session on Monday the 18th. The remaining sessions will be held on Saturday, May the 25th at the Southeast Community Center located at 5260 Hickory Hollow Parkway at 10 a.m. and the Hermitage Library located at 3700 James K. Lane at 2 p.m. And I'm sorry, I missed the one on the 18th. The one on the 18th is at the Northwest YMCA, located at 3700 Ashland City Highway at 2 p.m. So this Saturday at the Northwest Y, and then the following Saturday at the Southeast Community Center in the Hermitage Library. We also have the public hearing on Tuesday, June the 4th, at our regularly called council meeting. So please encourage your constituents to come out to that as well. I'm asking that all committee members please put your committee signs up so that the viewing audience can recognize that you are a committee member. If you are visiting us and you're not on the committee, you will still be recognized to speak. And as we did yesterday, we will go to the other committee member, the committee chair of the associated committee. So all of today's department hearings are all under the umbrella of also public health and safety. So after we go through the department presentation, when it's time for Q&A, I will start with Chair Evans, who's here with us, since she is the chair of public health and safety, and then we will recognize other members. Lastly, for any citizens or constituents that are watching, if you have questions about the budget, I did want to make sure that you know that we do have the Citizens Guide to the Budget available on Nashville.gov. It's an amazing tool that will answer a lot of the questions that you may have about the budgeting process. To our colleagues, the questionnaires that we are going over today, you will find them in the SharePoint, in our SharePoint that's on Nashville.gov. You can go to the council page and then go to council resources, and under operational budget, the second link will be the fiscal year 25 folder, and under that, the third link will be the questionnaires, a folder containing the questionnaires for our hearing. So please make sure that you are referencing that. With that, we will start with fire. And before we call fire up, I'm going to go to finance for one moment. There's a question that I keep getting from people in the community, and I want to make sure that finance has the opportunity to explain discrepancies that people may see between the ordinance that has been filed and the numbers that we see in the budget book. So, Mr. Aaron Pratt, you are recognized.
Thank you. Aaron Pratt, Budget Officer, Department of Finance. There's always going to be a variance between the ordinances that are produced. So the mayor's recommended budget ordinance, the Budget and Finance Chair ordinance, and the final council approved ordinance, and the operating budget book. If you looked at the fiscal year 2024 budget book, operating budget book, there would be a variance between those ordinances and the amounts that departments are distributed. That's based on the pay plan. Pay plan is centrally budgeted during the budget process until the final pay plan amount is approved by council. Once that pay plan amount is approved, we then work over July and August to distribute and reallocate those funds specifically to the departments. So Department A would be at a certain amount, a base amount, throughout the budget process, plus any improvements that were approved by council during that time that was added to the budget. And final piece of that is the compensation amount that's then added to the budget for that department as instructed by council. So we do that operation in July and August based upon the final approved budget. So for instance, a department like finance would have had a budget of $50,000, and the pay plan that would have probably been approved was 2%. So we would have added that additional 2% to that department's budget in the July-August timeframe, and that would show up in the fiscal year operating budget book, which we produce in September/October and submit to GFOA.
Thank you for that, Mr. Pratt. Councilmember Allen, you're recognized.
And so just for clarification, in the ordinance, it shows the aggregate of what you're suggesting for the pay plan improvements under general government. So that chunk of money is already there in the total that we see. So the totals are the same. It's just not distributed out to the departments. Is that correct?
That is correct, Councilperson Allen. On page 15 of the current ordinance, there is a administration internal support account called Pay Plan Improvements of $41.7 million. That amount will then be debited and credited to departments once the final budget is approved.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Allen. Do we have any additional questions? All right, seeing none, thank you again. We will go ahead and get started. Our first budget hearing today will be with Fire and EMS. We do have Chief Swan with us today. And colleagues, you can find that information in your budget book located in Section E, page 318. So Chief Swan, you all are welcome to come up and join us. Thank you. And Chief, if you could introduce who you have with you, and you all are ready. Whenever y'all are ready, you can go ahead and get started.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you. I have Leanne Barcher. She's my finance, overall finance with the Nashville Fire Department. And also I have Mark Young and Mr. Moore from in the back, and Director Jerry Tomlinson, and a few other members that I have in the back, I guess, or plan on being here. So thank you. And to the chair and to all the council members, we're just really honored to be here, and thank you for allowing us to be able to come in and to present our budget for this year. Before I start, I really want to first I want to thank the administration. I want to thank the mayor. We understand that this year budget will be tight as far as operational, but we are very appreciative that the most important commodity that we have in each department is our personnel, the men and women that do the work every day. So we are very appreciative that they found the funds to make sure that everyone was getting the raises and from open range to cost of living. I think that's really important. So we really appreciate that. We do know that there's going to be a tightening of the belt this year, and we will be able to do that. I want to really highlight some things that's happened in our department. I think it's incredible. When you look at the Nashville Fire Department, and I'm going to mention the Office of Emergency Management because they're under our umbrella, but when you think about the fire department, you're thinking about fire suppression, EMS, the fire marshal's office, special operations, OEM, every component that's needed for any type of event or emergency that happens in a city. It makes no difference. When a call is made, 911, you're going to get someone from the department. In this past year, we made almost 160,000 runs, incidents, and the responses were 321 responses. So that just shows you the volume of calls and also so many moving parts for us to be able to manage that. Inside of our department, a lot of times when you talk about the fire department, we look at the shootings, the stabbings, the homicides, the drownings, the suspicious packages, the unknowns, and a lot of times it's horrific, and a lot of people really, when you think about the fire department, you think about tragedy, and you think about things that are not pleasant. But what I really want to focus on is when we look at the great things that's happened within the department. Of course, when you think about fire, you think about fire damage. We've made multiple fire calls this past year, structure damage from apartments to residentials to homes. We've made many of those. A lot of property damage was created, but I want to focus on the property that was saved. If you take an example of a complex, an apartment complex, and you lose a certain unit, it may be a couple, $2 or $3 million that's lost in that fire. But look about what would have happened had it not been aggressive firefighting. What would have happened if the crews did not make aggressive stops and training? Their training helped them prevent the fire from spreading. When we think about EMS, the calls that we make on a everyday notion, we make anywhere between 3,000 to 3,500 runs in a 6-day grace period, combined of both fire and EMS. Everybody on the department is at least an EMT. And with that being said, we know about cardiac arrest, strokes, choking, drownings. But I want to focus on the saved lives. There's been many a times where crews have responded to individuals that had strokes, but because of their immediate being able to identify it and with immediate action, it saved lives. Same for cardiac arrest, same for shootings, and same for MVA, motor vehicle accidents, where we have to use extrication equipment to free individuals from the scene. Then we think about training. I cannot emphasize how much we train in the department. We'll do over 3,000 hours of training every week. When we look at our Special Operations Division, we've come from a level 3 to a level 1 USAR team, hazmat team. We work with not only our local partners when it comes to public safety, from police department and so many others, but we're talking about our state and our federal partners, FBI, many partners that we work with. We've got a team right now that's in Texas. We're there to help them because, again, they're in need of it. Our swift water teams. When we had the storms the other night, we were fortunate that Davidson County didn't take as much damage, but Sumner County and Robertson County, we sent teams there to assist them. Our training has made us not just state ready, but also nation ready. And for the first time in the tenure of me being chief, we're looked at nationally as leaders when it comes to being able to orchestrate and manage disasters and emergencies. Now, that's not something we're proud of because here in Nashville, you guys know, we have several events every week, planned events, the unknown incidents that take place that we have to manage and make our way through it. We do it because we work well together with all our partners, and we thank you guys for that support. I just want to say that it's always an honor and a privilege to be the chief of such a great department. Our OEM partners, I have to mention them because they're under us as an umbrella. Again, we work well together. We have the tools to make us who we are today, and because of that, from after-action reviews to constant ringing of the phones, wanting to know, how did you handle this situation? We're beyond our borders. We send teams to other places to assist them. So again, a little bragging rights there, and I hope you guys can feel that because again, it's important for all of us. When we looking at our department, as far as I mentioned earlier, we know that we're going to have to tighten our belt. We don't have a lot of fat. Matter of fact, we have no fat in our department. We've hired, in the last year, we've actually hired 187 employees. That means we've had 3 recruit classes. We've had Battalion 88, 89, and Battalion 90 actually starts tomorrow. But attrition is always a concern of our department, and we've had 82 that's left the department. but we've got the ability right now to still be able to manage and be able to expand ourselves. Again, if we weren't able to do that, we wouldn't be able to help our partners. So again, the department is doing some great and wonderful things. In our budget, we did have ask, as you all could imagine. One of my main concerns that we have in the department is our staffing office. We do need that. A staffing office will provide efficient management. It'll help us be able to allocate our resources better, help us with scheduling, in training and development, performance monitoring and compliance and regulations, and of course, emergency preparedness. The fire department is unique because we have in suppression, we have 3 different shifts, A, B, and C shift. And in EMS, we have 4 shifts, A, B, C, and D shift. So a staffing office will be able to allow us to be able to just manage this with more consistency, because within each of those staffing offices, you have, of course, a chief that will be able to manage, but again, we want to get things on a more manageable level with more consistency. But we understand, and we're in strive with the mayor's vision, and we understand that we will tighten up, and that's exactly what we'll do. Again, I just would ask that you would focus on the positives, the things that this department has done to make an incredible difference to individual lives. So that's my presentation without getting into the budget ask that we had for this fiscal year.
Thank you so very much, Chief Swan, and thank you for your commitment to Nashville and all the work you do to keep us safe. So the first person I'm going to go to is Public Health and Safety Chair Aaron Evans, and then after Chair Evans, I'll go to Councilmember Benedict, and then Councilmember Allen, Prepty, Ewing. I'll try to remember that. All right, Council Lady Evans, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair. I guess starting off, I've got several questions, but starting off on the mayor's proposal to update pay from $18 to $20 an hour, is there any positive impact to existing employees within your departments with that change?
We don't have anybody in that class.
Yeah.
Okay, nobody in that class.
Yeah, we don't.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. And then I wanted to ask about the REACH program, because that's one I think that's really popular in the community. And it was something that Council at Large Allen had been involved with whenever she was chair 2 years ago. I noticed in the supplemental questionnaire information, there was some information related to an ask around 6 months of the REACH program. And so can you confirm, I guess on the health department side, yesterday we confirmed that there was budget on the health side for like the mental health cooperative piece. Can you confirm what's in your budget today outside, that would maintain current service levels of REACH?
Yes, thank you. It's a great question. So yes, we do. Currently, the REACH program, and by the way, the REACH program is just a wonderful program. We completed our year really experimenting to see how it would benefit the citizens and residents and those in Davidson County. It sort of works along with Partners in Care as the police department has, but the REACH program, and we wanted to extend that because currently what we do with REACH, we are able to run REACH from Tuesday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. It's two vehicles, two medics, and then we have 2 clinicians that run along with us. That program in itself is designed to take individuals who have mental issues or stressors of that nature, and instead of we're responding to them in a regular manner and taking them to the ER, first of all, the ER is not the place they need to be to get the help that they should get. They need to go to a place that would better suit them, and it'd be more of a mental facility to give them proper care. Plus, we realize that taking them to the ER, it bogs the ER down, and it creates a lag in the system. So with the patients that we have come in contact with, we show that a little over 70% of the outcome is great. That means we can respond to the call, and we either or take the patient to a place that's better fitted for that individual, or we can leave that patient at home with a safety plan. Now, there are times when we get there and we make an evaluation and we determine that, yes, they do need to go to the ER. So we can actually complete that as well. So it's a great program. So we have the funds, Ms. Evans, to continue the program as it currently are, but we are in the process, and I know this was a big objective even for the mayor, for us to be able to expand this, and we've got everything in place, the plan to make it bigger and better. So we're looking for at least for next year that we'll be ready to move this, to expand it. We would like to move it to having more afternoon hours, and also moving it to more of the weekend as well. So we have a plan in place, but we understand, again, that it takes time, and but a great program, so thank you.
Can you speak, either of you speak to, I guess, like what's the current funding allocation at the maintaining service levels versus like the expansion, and what that additional cost looks like?
Let's see here. Is that going to be?
So Council Lady Evans, the expansion, if you look at question 3 in the document that we sent to answer the questions, was going to be for 5 FTEs at a cost of $753,900.
Okay, thank you very much. I think that is going to be all the questions I have for now, and then I'll just pick up any other ones at the end. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair Evans. And let me ask a clarifying question before we go to Councilmember Benedict. Can you all repeat when you currently have reach? I called Tuesday through Friday, but could you repeat when you currently have it? And also, could you clarify those 5 FTEs with the program expansion? Would that be then running the program for like 24/7, or what would that expansion entail?
Yes, so the ultimate goal, of course, is to have a 24-hour, 24/7 program. But currently, we run it from Tuesday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. With the ask that we had for the expansion of the program, we were wanting to expand the program to make sure that we cover Saturday and Sunday, and then also, instead of cutting it off at 8 p.m., we wanted to run it farther into the p.m. because we just know that we make, the way we capture our calls, we may have in a 6-day grace period, we may have 86 psychiatric calls, or calls that we would consider that would need the attention of a REACH program. But the program itself, the way we run it, we cannot hit that number because we don't have the expansion ability to hit it. So if we are able to expand it, then we know we can capture more of the need that our numbers show.
Okay, so the 750,000 would
Yes.
allow y'all to expand it to Saturday and
And Sunday.
Sunday, and then also run it later into the evening, like
Yes.
midnight or?
We would have to determine, but yes, that would be the game plan, that we would like to try to at least run it to midnight.
Okay. Thank you, Chief. Council Lady Benedict, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chief, and to everyone in your department for the good work they do. I have a couple of questions. One on this side on grants. Grants are so important to this. How do we know, how is your department certain that you're making applications for all available grants possible? And the REACH program is an example where maybe there are new funds available out there through the federal government than that other cities might be getting, that we can make sure we're accessing so that we can do that outside of the operating budget.
Thank you so much for that question. We try our best to make sure that we're looking for grants that would actually fit our department. As you know, grants are wonderful, but they also tie your hand and they put you into a corner, and you have to sort of go by that grant, the orders that specifically specifies what moves you are. So we look at grants that we think that we can, that will fit our department. in ways that will help enhance our ability. But we do not have a full-time person that will constantly be looking for those grants. But we are very mindful of that, and we look for any type of funding that we can do outside of when it comes to grants. So especially you'll find that to be very true from the port grants to the EMPG and all those grants that affect public safety. But when it comes to specific pertaining to this subject here, I know we were trying to be very intentional about designating a few individuals to try to seek out grants. And mostly what we find with public safety in our area, we find grants that are more geared toward emergency response, but not the mental health issue, which we know now that's going to be a key movement we see in society, because we realize that mental illness is a serious subject matter and is real, very real. So we are starting to see more people taking that serious, and we will do our due diligence to try to make sure we keep an eye on those.
Thank you. And follow up to that, I guess, does the finance department work with the department to find those grants as well? Is that something that since you don't have a full-time person looking at that, is that something the finance department supplements? And Chair, I don't want to monopolize a bunch of time, but I am curious about that grant question, quite frankly, for all the departments that can seek grants, so.
We do get notice on occasion from the finance department, the grants coordination division, when opportunities are available, and we're very grateful for that.
Okay, thank you. And then my last question is, on the questionnaire 7B, how many unfilled FTE employees does your department currently have? It says 47 with the May and June fire and EMS recruit classes.
Yes.
Just to clarify, that means there's 40, after the May and June classes, there's still 47 openings, right?
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
Do those funds for those salaries and benefits and fringe, does that get encumbered or does it get used up before the end of the fiscal year? What happens with the funding that's been allocated to you for those 47 positions that are unfilled? Is there leftover budget?
There can be.
Where does that go?
General fund departments, your allocation is only good from July 1st through June 30th, and at the end of the fiscal year, it just goes back into the general fund.
So if you don't use that money, it goes back to the general fund?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
And then I also want to add, Councilor Benedict, that in our department, when we hiring, we may have those positions or electrician, so it takes, it may take a while just from the point that we do our selection, get the person on board, and then start the class. So there may be some lagging there, and then it takes 6 months to get that person from the time that they actually start the academy to being out and ready to go in the field. So thank you.
Thank you, Council Lady. Next in queue, we have Councilwoman Allen. You're recognized.
Thank you. I just have one question. Last year, we celebrated having, if I understood this right, all the trucks fully staffed. So 4 firefighters to a truck. Are we still at that level?
Yes, thank you. So, yes, and I love that question. I think we have managed through the administration and you guys really supporting this, and we're managed now to be able to have the staffing numbers that we need to be able to absorb people being off or people being sick or military leave or pay family leave or what have you. And it gives us the ability to be able to expand. When you think about fleet, and I want to just touch on this because you talked about the trucks, and I think it's a good moment for us to say that because I should have said it at the beginning. Even with the process now, since 2015 to current time, we finally flipped all of our heavy fleet, and we're currently now trying to recircle back into that. Along with in the last 18 months, we were able to flip all of our light fleet, which that really resulted from Metro Council and the administration. But back to your current question, yes, we're able to. We're now using squad trucks. We have 8 squad trucks that we've introduced into our department, which will help us now cut back on using like our trucks, which is you're looking at $1.8 million for a truck. We go through a vehicle where normally it says 8 years. We may do it in 3 years because of the run volume. But now that we have those rescue or vehicles, we can now supplement and use them in order to make extrications or carbon monoxide or EMS runs instead of using the trucks. So we wouldn't be able to do that if we didn't have proper staffing. It goes right back to staffing. Having proper staffing, it gives you the ability to think outside the box and be more creative. So we are in a good situation when it comes to our staffing. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Council Lady Allen. Next in queue, we have Councilmember Prepty. You're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Chief Swan, so much for being here. I want to go back briefly to the REACH program and more broadly about the ambulance services that NFD provides. So with relation to the REACH program or more broadly with ambulance services, could you talk a little bit about the federal funding structure and whether or not if a citizen utilizes the REACH program to be transported to either MTMHI or the mental health co-op, whether or not they will be billed for that transport service? Because I know oftentimes for folks who are either uninsured or underinsured, they are billed directly for the use of ambulance services or billed through their insurance. So could you talk about how could you talk about sort of that funding structure and how that operates?
So, Councilman, we bill for our ambulance transports. So if we transport a patient on an ambulance, a bill is generated through the rate structure that was approved by the council. For individuals that are assisted through our REACH program and those vehicles, there is no bill generated for that.
And so just following up on what you just said, just so I understand, council is the one who we're the ones who decide what that rate of billing is for ambulance transport services.
Actually, a third party came in and did an audit of what it costs to provide the services. And then that plan was submitted to the finance department and ultimately to the council saying, this is what is recommended to charge for an ambulance transport. And council votes on that and gives us the authority to charge for those.
And I think we haven't had a rate. We're actually looking at doing an evaluation on our, and I understand that the concern of what we charge for the medical transport, and again, that's a national standard. They come in and do an evaluation to tell us what's best because, and we understand the thought here of the cost, but we haven't done one. Was it 2000?
The 2015 was the last time we had a evaluation done, but the rates weren't adjusted because there was a very minimal difference at that time. But we feel like it is time now to do it again.
Yeah, because unfortunately, the cost of doing that business is very expensive. And you'll see with medical supplies and just post-COVID, everything is just from purchasing medical supplies to any type of material that we purchase, from vehicles and everything. It's just been through the roof. So we're going to be looking at doing another evaluation on that. And I know that's probably not what you wanted to hear, but again, it's cost of staying in business.
And completely understandable. And then I want to go to your questionnaire that you submitted. On there, you have a line item for a new truck company in South Nashville / Antioch. Just so I'm 100% clear on what specifically that request is for, is that for a ladder truck or an additional fire engine? Because I know that there's a difference between an engine company and then a ladder truck company. And so just want to make sure specifically what that request is asking for.
Yes, it's for an aerial truck. It'd be for a truck because we know the growth in South Nashville has really just been very tremendous. We see that there is a need for a station there. We understand that the run volumes has increased double its time in the last few years. So at this time, even getting a truck, we would put it probably at station 33s or 35s to better aid that region to assist to make calls, because when we look at how our response times are to that area, we know that it's a lag. And to get an aerial truck and have it there, it would just help support that area, that region. And also, again, we know that all the numbers show that it's past due time to have a station there. So that is for a truck company.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councilmember Prepty. Next in the queue, we have Council Lady Ewing.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you, Chief Swan, for that presentation. I have a few questions, if you'll bear with me. The first relates a bit to Councilwoman Allen's question about personnel. You had mentioned that given the hires in the last year, you now feel that you have the personnel to fully man your fire trucks. Is that, I just want to confirm that, but then add, do you have enough trucks to meet the demands around the city for emergency services?
So, and I want to make sure I clarify, right now when we talk about a current station, the current fire department that you have now has not grown in a few decades. We have just, in the last couple of decades, have in the last 2 years, have gotten to fully staffed just for this department. But when we talk about the growth that's needed, now you're looking at, I mean, a few decades where the city, you see the city don't just grow up, it grows out. So there is a deep desire and need, and we know that for expansion of the department. So I could sit here all day and tell you the needs that we have and how it would better equip us to do a better job. But I would be, I guess, to answer your question directly, we know that currently we're able to provide the service that we can because we've got great men and women that do an excellent job. And with being creative, as I said earlier about the squads that we brought in, we've got 8 of them. It'll help us now cut down on the wear and tear on the heavy fleet like the trucks and use those as an alternative. Well, that's great because it helps save money and it helps cut down on the wear and tear. But we have the ability right now to expand that just because we do have proper staffing. So we have proper staffing. And we have we did ask for personnel because there's a need for that, because there's ways that we can improve our productivity by utilizing what we've asked for. But I want everybody to rest assured to know that you're going to get Class A service from the Nashville Fire Department. We're so thankful that you guys have been so good to us in the last 4 years. And we know that Mayor O'Connell's dedication to public safety is committed, just like Mayor Cooper was. And so we feel good about that. And we know the support that we have from each one of you because you've reached out to us. So we thank you for that. So we have what we need now to accomplish the task that you're asking for. And our fleet is in good condition. Back to the trucks.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, the next thing I wanted to ask about were the 2 items that you indicated were the belt tightening. And I appreciate that you've gone through this process and done the hard work of figuring out where you can make those budget cuts. One of the things that concerns me is the $1 million that you've taken away from maintenance. I want to ask you, is the deferred maintenance that will result from this belt tightening in any way going to impact your operational capabilities? What will the impact of deferring that maintenance be?
Council Lady, that was a one-time appropriation that was given to us. It was not a recurring.
Okay,
So we
thank
were
you.
grateful for that. We utilized it for the purpose that it was intended, and we're hopeful that we will receive 4% funding to
Thank you.
continue those efforts going forward.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. The last thing I had to ask about was there used to be a downtown station, I think near Gay Street, I believe. Yes, it was shut down. And with the growth in population downtown, I wanted to find out, sort of related to my other question about capacity to meet demand, does downtown have sufficient services somewhere in the vicinity to meet the potential, I guess, demand, for lack of a better word?
Yeah, good question. So the Nashville Fire Department, we have multiple fire stations that nationally are ranked in the top 25 as far as run volume. Station 9 happens to be one that's number one. So we've got the busiest fire station in the nation. And for some fire chiefs, that's bragging rights. You know, hey, we've got the busiest station in the world. But sometimes we can look at that and realize that, again, we have to look at the wear and tear it has on the personnel. Now, Station 9, 19s, 11s, 2s, 5s, I can continue to 19s, I can continue to name them. In that downtown region, we know that that area is saturated with call volumes. We've been very intentional, even how we've approached our EDI, how we work with downtown partners to make sure that we are intentional about staffing that area to take off the pressure from the fire stations that I mentioned. We have working teams that's there, and we've worked very diligently and intentional about this. So our concerns right now, we look at that area and we know that, especially when we think about the potential growth with the East Bank, and we're in talk with the mayor's office and Mr. Mendez, and we in detail about what is that going to look like? Because we know we're at max capacity. We're not able to control or handle anymore. So we're in conversation now about how does that look? We also are excited about the possibilities of getting Station 2 back into the original spot. And I know that's been a commitment with the mayor because that was his district. So we're excited about all these opportunities. Right now, we have Station 9 and 5s and 19s. We've doubled up with companies there. So we're going to manage that area, and we're going to just continue to be intentional. We've been very creative how we make runs, from fast car processes to now we're using ATVs and doing similar to our PD partners, and making sure, again, that we're able to get into tight areas, because when you look at the density in downtown, it's very difficult to take heavy pieces of equipment when we start talking about engines and trucks in that small footprint. But we've been very creative, and we'll continue to do that. So we're excited about the possibilities of tomorrow when it comes to new fire stations, and we're in conversation now pertaining to them.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your creativity, and I appreciate your department. So thank you for all that you do.
Thank you, Councillady Ewing. I have Councilmember Huffman, followed by Councillady Toombs, Councilwoman Sorora, and then Councilwoman Webb. Councilman Huffman, you're recognized.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair Porterfield. First of all, Chief Swan, thank you for being here. I think your department does a great job. I've got just a couple of questions here. One, you mentioned that 82 individuals left last year. That's correct? 82?
In the
Yes,
current
yes,
year.
sir.
What does the mix of employees look like? Are these people that staff trucks? Is it administrative employees?
All of the above. It's fire, EMS, fire marshal's office, administrative. If you need a further breakdown, I can get with our HR folks and provide that.
Okay, that would be great. Thank you. Next question is pertaining to a specific type of fire engine, specifically the advanced life support engines. Could you speak more about the number that you have in your freight, and is that up to par right now?
Then when you ask that question, you're saying, well, all of our personnel that's on the fire department are at least an emergency medical technician, they're EMT. That's the minimum. And then you have, our paramedics, which is the grade above that. So we have 33 ambulances currently, and we're bringing another one on next month, which we'll have 34, which expand ourselves to be able to meet the demand more better. Now, as far as the engines, I want to make sure I'm understanding your question. So what are you asking about the engines?
Essentially, what I'm asking is there at least one person on a truck that is equipped as a firefighter and a paramedic both? And the question there is derived around, I believe, the city of Memphis. They are currently close to near capacity in regards to that dual role. And it's been noted within the city of Memphis just specifically because, well, if you've got an EMS worker on your truck, well, that's less of an ambulance trip possibly.
So our fire equipment is outfitted with EMTs on every piece of equipment. There are select companies in the outskirts of the county that actually have firefighter paramedics on it because it takes a greater amount of time to get an ambulance to those areas, and the coverage area is much larger than in downtown.
Yeah, and we feel comfortable, the way
Yes.
we have it set now, the outer skirts areas that do have the ALS personnel on the engines, the way we have it set up now, it works perfect for what we have because the inner cities and the more closer, they're so, we have a med unit so close to them, we don't run into that lag. Like when we look at like 30s, Jolton area and places like that where it may be farther out. So it'd be more appropriate to have an ALS engine. But I'm looking from the time, I think, of just in a matter of a decade, now we've got 33. As I said, we'll have 34 within the next month. But we started out, I think we had 14 ambulances. Now we've got enough to really cover the area and make it where it cuts back on the ALS engines for the inner city. But outer city, we do have a couple ALS engines.
Thank you. And last question, and you noted this earlier, but last fire station that came online, net new, 20 years ago, is that right?
It was under Purcell.
Yeah, let me give you that number because I don't want to make a statement and then have to come back and redact it. I can get you that, but it has been quite a while since I think station.
There was a 6-pack of those stations that was done. I can't remember the
Let
number.
me just give you the answer because I should know that, but for some reason it's not registering. But I will tell you, we did recently take old 32s. And we made it Station 40, and that's in Hermitage. But again, that's not a, new fire station, meaning you put a fire station in a whole different area where we see the demand, like we would want to do in South Nashville. I think in our capital plan, we have exactly 5.
Brand new ones.
Yeah, five new stations already has in each 4 corners, and then, of course, Midtown, that we know we need a new station, which would equip, new station, more personnel, and apparatus, and even looking at that, to actually produce a new fire station with the equipment and personnel, you're looking at around,
I'll look it up. I don't remember. off the top of my
but,
head.
so we understand it's costly when you start talking about fire equipment and fire personnel and stations, but we also understand the cost of saving lives and public safety. I don't know if we can put a price tag on that.
Yeah, and thank you for highlighting the 2 fire stations in my district because that was kind of where I was going. Just to note for my colleagues, while that's not a net new fire station, just my neighborhood alone, 800 new structures since that time. Thank you.
Yeah, and you were also got a new truck in your area, which that, I think everyone in the department applauded that measure. So we thank the administration and you guys for voting on that and getting it to us last year. Station, to have truck 32s is something that has been needed since, I think, at least since I've been on 29 years. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Huffman. Council Lady Toombs, Vice Chair Toombs, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair. So I had a question about the total number of positions additional positions you would like to have, looking at your questionnaire, the fiscal year 25 budget modification request. Are you saying that, if you were to get every single position type that you wanted, you would want 117 additional FTEs on top of your current number of personnel?
That was your total ask.
Yeah, that's my total ask, yes.
Okay, and that's in addition to the 47 vacancies that you have, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, okay. That
Those
was all I had, Chief.
vacancies were due to attrition.
Yeah, there was an attrition vacancy. So again, we get those. I think we average somewhere, it varies, but we average, on the average, around 60, it vary per year with attrition.
Thank you, Vice Chair Toombs. Councilwoman Soror, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chief. And again, echoing what everyone says, thank you for the work that your department does as well. In the 117 that you would like to have, the two that caught my attention is the REACH program expansion, and I think there's a lot of conversation about that. But you do have something in here that is a special operation response team. Can you talk about that? What does that do? And
Yeah, let me look here and see here.
It's the
Sort team?
Sort team.
Yeah. I'm just looking for my, hold on. What mod is that? We got all my, okay. Yeah, that's mod 12. We're looking at 18 new FTEs. And really, it's just for our statewide response teams with hazmat. And as you look, even today, having a SORT team, a team that's able to respond and have just specifics is incredible. Because right now, with the team that we've made up to go to Texas, for instance, it's made up of the department. So we pull from within the department to actually, for our swift water teams or for our hazmat teams, those are teams that's made up from within the department. So when we deploy out to these different areas, it's like taken from one area to give to another. So if we had a designated team, it's just going to make us better. One of the things that I'm very proud of within our department, especially when it looks at our special operations and this the department in general, but as I stated earlier, our training has been outstanding and we are looked at nationwide as a leader. So the 18 would just really give us the ability. We got a HEART team, which is our air rescue, our swift water, our hazmat teams. All of these things encompass special operations. So that's why we ask for that, because we just know that the importance of being not just great for being good neighbors. I mean, we have teams that went to Sumner County, teams that went to Robinson County. We are always on the move and making sure that we have all the things that's needed to not only keep Davidson County, which is for our primary mission, and having a team that would be designated and it wouldn't pull from any other departments. It would just be set there for that specific reason.
thank you. So when they're in Sumner County, if something happened in Davidson County, then they're not here to be able to answer to that.
Right. Say that one more time.
So I'm saying that you want a special team so that you're not pulling from the people that are supposed to respond to local calls,
Absolutely.
pretty much.
Yeah, thank you.
And then the other one that caught my eye that I just want to understand as we're looking at these numbers is the crisis counselor. Is that for residents or is that for your staff, or what does that position do?
Yeah, that's for our staff. Listen, one of the things that we do know about mental health, when we talked openly about that for our citizens and visitors and residents, but we also know the importance for interdepartment. When I first came on, it was taboo. We didn't talk about situations. It was, hey, you knew what you signed up for. It's a tough job. But we realized that mental health is very serious, and there's nothing more important to me than our personnel. So having staff on board to be able to help, for us to help the helpers is very important for us. And we've got a team right now that's on board that's just doing a tremendous work within the department. I think the department's more relaxed now and more open to talk about problems and things that they see. Because remember, I mean, we're first in. And everything that you hear about or see from shootings or whatever it may be, we're the ones that's putting our hands on those patients, and we're the ones that's working on it. So it behooves us to make sure that we're taking care of our personnel.
I completely agree. That's why I pulled it out. I think that the mental health of our emergency practitioners will be very important. So right now that you don't have that crisis management or crisis counselor, what are you doing to make sure that people are okay? This is something I'm interested in, and I think you should have. But how are you managing now without it?
Well, we do, so let me be clear on that. This year, we actually onboarded our first crisis counselor. So we do have one.
Okay.
The manager.
Yep, she's the manager, and we would thank our PD partners. We actually took her from them. So she's amazing. She comes with a lot of experience, and she works with our peer support team that we have now. But we just know that's just, she's just one person, along with our team that she works diligently with. So we know we need growth in that area.
Okay. Yeah. I agree. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Lady Sorora. Councilwoman Webb, you're recognized.
Thank you, but Zora asked my question.
Thank you for that. Councilmember Prepty, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just wanted to go back very quickly. Do we know what the current rate is for ambulance services here in Davidson County?
It's $650 per transport plus $13 per loaded mile.
So
That's the mileage.
okay, so 650 total.
$650 base
Okay.
plus $13 per loaded mile.
And that's base, so if whatever treatment is given on that unit will be.
It's a flat rate,
I'm sorry.
regardless
Thank
of the type of treatment that we provide. And the average bill is around $710 to $715. But just because we bill that does not mean that the department receives it. Medicare and other federal programs pay at a much lower rate. Commercial insurances will pay a portion, and then the patient is responsible for the rest. And then we have the true private pays where citizens are responsible for the whole amount, and that isn't always collected.
And of the fees that are actually collected, do we know what portion of those fees actually comes back to Metro? So, you stated that we don't necessarily all receive all of the fees that are charged. Just to clarify on that, are you stating that we don't receive all the fees that are charged because of non-payment, or because it's like split revenue, it goes to some other source?
No, so there is an indigent population, and then for federal programs such as Medicaid and Medicare, there are limits to how much we can charge back to the patient. So the initial bill goes out, and depending upon the insurance plan that the patient has, perhaps Medicare says, we're only going to pay $200 on this. And if that plan says we're not allowed to bill for the difference, then that's all we get and it's over.
Okay, thank you so much. That clarifies it.
But we bill the same amount to every person regardless of what type of insurance or if they even have insurance.
Yeah, and
That
thank you,
clarifies
Leanne,
for
for
me.
It's a-
clarifying that
it's
with
a
me.
fair
Yes,
process.
absolutely. I'm sorry.
I appreciate it. Thank you all so much.
Sure.
Thank you, Councilmember Prepty. Do we have any other questions? I'm going to ask a few, and then we'll see if Chair Evans has any questions. Can you all clarify two things for me? One, what is the breakdown of responsibilities for REACH between the health department and the fire department?
With the health department and the clinicians that work on there, so from our standpoint, we have a great relationship with the health department. And even the question about the grants that was asked by, I think it was Council Lady Benedict or Council Lady Evans asked the question about the grants. The health department helps out in that area too, because that's more of their expertise. But we work closely with them, and the team works well together. So the relationship, when the response is out, from the paramedic standpoint, anything that's medical, or attention that needs to be given, the clinician, of course, is at the level of the mental health of the person. So it's a great combination. To answer your question, I think the teams know each other well. And now that we've been in this over a year, and I'm sorry, I do not know the clinicians' names. I should, because we've met with them several times. We just have a great relationship with them. I think in sync, it works well. Anytime there's any discrepancy, they always go to the best and most aggressive care. So it's just a great relationship. Again, 70% of success with patient contact by either getting them to the right help or leaving them at home with a proper care. And then again, sometimes it is that we make an evaluation and they do have to go to the ER, or we have to call our partners in care to help with specific things. So again, it's a great relationship.
Thank you, Chief, and that kind of bleeds into the second question. Can you talk a little bit about the overlap between REACH and Partners in Care? And do you all have any data between the two programs? And I'll ask MNPD specifically about Partners in Care, but do you all, how do y'all work together? And is there any data kind of comparing the effectiveness of the two programs?
Well, I would pass that to PD when it comes to with the Partners of Care, because again, I know they do an outstanding job with that, but I don't know enough about that to really speak on it. And I will take this question and actually get with Fred Smith and Brooke Haas, who really has more insight on a REACH program. But I can say that I do know that there's times anytime overlapping takes place, 911, Steve Martini and his crew, it starts there, because when the call comes in, that's when the decision is made. What happens? Who is responding to this call? Is it your regular ALS call or BLS call where you have a fire engine and you have an ambulance, or do they deem it to be something that Partners in Care would be more appropriate, or is it something that REACH would be more appropriate? So this has been a work in progress. And 911 starts it, and they do an excellent job. We had a lot of hiccups at the beginning of this program, but now we're seeing it really just be streamlined to where the appropriate agency is being sent to the appropriate call.
Thank you, Chief. And then my last question is just a clarifying question about, I believe it may have been Councilmember Benedict, that asked about unfilled FTE. So we know when that money is not spent, it ultimately goes back to the general fund. But I think we need some clarity around, is the money able to be spent during the year? And if so, who determines how that money is allocated and where it goes? So if you have 20 unfilled FTEs, does the money for all 20 FTEs, 100% of that goes back to the general fund, or are you all allowed to spend some of that money during the course of the year and then give back whatever you don't spend?
Council Lady, we worked with the finance department this year because we were aware that we were going to have some vacancies, and we were granted permission to use those salary savings one time to manage the ever-increasing costs on medical supplies. So the majority of those savings are being used for that one time this year. There will be some savings that goes back into the general fund. But that's something that Chief Swan always consults with the finance department on.
Yeah, and they're very gracious to allow us to have that because, again, as mentioned, when it comes to supplies, we don't hoard anything, but you can never have enough. And to have, to be able to have some funds that are able to use to purchase the medical supplies or other products is very important. So finance do an excellent job at helping us and allowing us to be able to do that. So, and we try not to give back anything.
I'm sure you don't, Chief. Thank you. Chair Evans, did you have any additional questions?
Yes, ma'am. On the, I know. You covered several of my questions, so thank you for that. The future, I guess, of Nashville, because we were talking a little bit earlier about the growth of the city and growing out, not up, and everything. We were doing, of course, a lot of effort around the East Bank and, continuing to add businesses businesses and neighborhoods and everything else. And that was kind of part of our conversation about the East Bank last term, was the idea that just because we are building this stadium and we're using this neighborhood basically to subsidize the construction of the stadium and all the details that go into that, is that there's aspects of this build that are going to be hard costs to the operating fund, and making sure that we have appropriate fire protection and those kinds of things are going to be really important. So have you started forecasting that far in advance related to what that growth looks like and how that will impact your department in the future?
Absolutely. We've, as I stated, Bob Mendez, we've had, and alongside with PD, our PD partners, we're very, very concerned about the public safety aspect, because we understand when you build something, and if you build out public safety, I mean, we're no safer than or secure than in this city than our public safety strength. So we've emphasized the importance of making sure that public safety is in the equation when you talking about building, because and we know, and Bob does an excellent job of expanding about the build out of East Bank will maybe, from 10 to 20 years. And when it's just like the Gulch in a sense, but we want to make sure that in the equation that we're put in there early enough to be able to make an impact, because as I stated earlier, we're at max capacity as far as being able to respond to this downtown area with what we have. So I think we've been heard, and I think the mayor knows, and he's in agreement as well. They're not making any more property. So what we do have, we've got to make sure we utilize that and make sure that public safety is a big component as a part of it.
Thank you. And then on going back to the Partners in Care and REACH conversation, kind of, I think when I was looking while Chair Porterfield was asking you that question, kind of related to like what's publicly available. And Partners in Care started off really strong, I think, with the data that was publicly shared as part of the pilot project. And then REACH does not have, to my knowledge, I couldn't find any publicly available data kind of to that point. So I think it's one of those, I'll put it in my questionnaire or follow-up questions, but I think it's like between health and you all and police, like kind of reconvene on like the data. Because I think we don't want to get, even though the programs I think are very popular, and we don't want to get to the point where we're just funding something just to be funding it, because it's been successful in the past. And so I want to see us, like, by the end of this term, like, get back to, like, here's the public, information, and it's all clear for everybody about what that success looks like. So I'll just put that bug in everybody's ear. And then, of course, all the union folks really want to make sure that all the employees are getting a 5%, cost of living adjustment, which I know is really tough in this environment. But, the 3.5, from your perspective as somebody that's hiring people, 3.5 to retain people, where do you stand on that meeting your needs as a department?
The best way to answer that, I think, and I heard this, and so bear with me. They said when Henry Ford was first made the production line as far as vehicles and making them, he had a assembly line, and one of the reporters asked him, "Well, how much money does it take to make one of your employees happy?" And his response was, "Just a little bit more." So, what I am very thankful of is that the mayor made it a priority, that he was able to give the 3.5%, if that's and of course, and then the steps. So the minimum, it'll be 6.5% for everyone. So I will not go on record saying, I'll go on record saying that I am disappreciative of that. And I think every employee is, so again, we could all use more. That's a easy statement to make, but I do know that it took a lot to get to that. And I think the work that was put into that was very intentional. So I'm very appreciative of that. And I think with, we seeing a trend around the country, since COVID, we just, even for fire suppression and especially EMS, we're just getting employees. I think people have changed the way their lifestyle, and some things are not as big as a priority as it once were. But we think with what has been presented, we're going to do our job, and we're going to give you Class A treatment no matter what.
Was that Henry Ford story? Is that quote in your book?
The book is really good. Thanks for this.
Anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Council Lady Evans. To follow up on that COLA question there, thank you for kind of throwing me. Is it an alley-oop? I don't know sports ball terms, y'all, but I think that's what it's called, an assist or something. I don't know. But could any of those savings from, not savings, excuse me, the unfilled FTEs that you all have that you all are being able to use for other things, could any of that be used for employee pay, bonuses, or additional COLA?
No, the savings that you're referring to when an employee leaves, say they retire in December, you're going to have some level of savings between January and June, depending upon how large their payout was for vacation and whatever accrued leave they had. Those are one-time savings because the operating budget is only good in the year in which it's appropriated. Those funds don't carry forward to a future year. So no, they could not be used for employee pay going forward.
Let me ask this a different way, because y'all have reoccurring unfilled FTEs, right?
No, no, ma'am, these vacancies are just, we filled everything that we receive, and then we have over 200 people eligible to retire today, with another 50 or so that will be able to go in 5 years. And so we're constantly having people retire or resign for various reasons, and that's just part of the work environment. I'm sure other large departments experience a similar situation.
Okay. Thank you. Do we have any other questions? Council Lady Ellis, you're recognized.
Thank you for recognizing me, even though I'm not on the committee. Chief Swan, so I have more of a basic question, sort of around the fundamentals. So does every engine, in particular, I should say engine 33 in my district, does it have a paramedic, like a firefighter / paramedic that gets dispatched, on every call?
So I believe that's similar to a question that was asked earlier. Every fire apparatus has an EMT on it. We have, and let me look at my notes here because I don't want to give the wrong information. We have 5 fire companies in the city that are located towards the outskirts of the county where they have actual paramedics on those apparatus because the ambulance coverage is a bit less out there because it takes more time to travel that further distance And so they do have paramedics on those units. There are approximately 30 total in the department to cover all 3 shifts for those apparatus. But every piece of equipment
Right,
that we have has at least an EMT on
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
And they can
right.
provide medical services.
Okay, good. And just one more question, if you would, Madam Chair. So in my area, it's the Priest Lake, Smith Springs, and of course, we're coming up on the lake season. What are some, like, in the budget, where can I find the, any additional monies being allocated for, the influx in the population in that area during the summer months?
Well, that's a good question. What we do in this time of the year, anytime you have seasonal changes, we see an influx in call volumes. And of course, now we coming to spring and summer. We know that it's going to be more busy on the lakes and rivers and ponds and all the good stuff. But we do training year round, and especially this time of year where we have our OEM teams with the fire teams. When we talk about swift water, we talk about our diving teams. We do training just about every week when it comes to that. So what we do is just be more alert and more intentional. We start off by just from our PIO office, our Public Information Office, we do a lot of public awareness about safety on the lakes, from everything from wearing your safety vest to conduct and behavior. But we do quite a bit of training. So the response, and we can give you a more breakdown of what that number really looks like, but we're training for all the time. So you can rest assured that it makes no difference that even though we know that the increase will be there because we're getting into the spring and summer, but our readiness is always going to be there. We're always alert and ready and on board to do what we need to.
Thank you, Council Lady Ellis. Last question, Chief, and we are over time, so I want to make sure that we allocate enough time for our other departments that will be presenting. I know that one-time money cannot be used for COLAs or raises, but they can be used for bonuses. So could any of the money from the unfilled FTEs be used for bonuses?
It's my understanding that bonuses are still prohibited at this time,
Prohibited, what do you mean?
that we're not allowed, that general government departments are not allowed to pay bonuses to employees.
Is that for this year only, or?
No, that's been in place for a number of years.
Is that for fire only?
No, all general government departments, to my knowledge. You could, I would recommend that you ask the finance department the specifics on when that happened, but it's been in place for a long time.
Okay, thank you. I'll check with finance, because I know since I've been on council, we've given bonuses to, I believe it was MNPS. So maybe that's different from I know that that's different from general government, but I have never heard that general government was not allowed to give bonuses. So I will follow up with finance. Thank you. And Chief Swan, thank you all so much for being here. We appreciate your time. And now we're going to go to our next hearing, which will be with the Sheriff's Department. So we have Sheriff Darren Hall, who will be coming up, and feel free to bring your team with you.
All right, thank you.